Hey class, Mrs. Gilling here. I'm going to give you some project instructions on your Unit 2 project. But before I do that, I've got a joke for you. Ready? Question: what is the fruitiest school subject? Answer: history, because it is full of dates. Get it? Dates are a fruit and it's full of dates because it's history. It covers a lot of years. There's a lot of dates in California. I don't know. You don't see them a lot here in Idaho, but they exist if you go to the grocery store. Okay, let's go into your project. So here's the prompt. You're going to do a slideshow, and this project will allow you to take a topic you learned about briefly in Unit 1 or 2, study it further, and form opinions that you will share in a slideshow presentation. Your project will be submitted at the end of Unit 2. Here are the two prompts that you can choose from. Ready? Prompt number one: how does the economic, political, and social life of America today compare to the 1920s? And prompt number two: what were three major reforms that took place in the progressive era? What led up to them, and how do they impact us today? Here's the requirements if you go with option number one. And again, pick one option. Don't do two projects. You don't need to be going crazy like that. You don't need to do one project on both things. Pick one of the options and do your project on that. So, option number one: how does the economic, political, and social life of America today compare to the 1920s? So you're going to start off with a title slide that's worth 5 points. You're going to put your name and a good title for your project. Then you're going to have an introduction slide worth 10 points. And that's where you're going to explain that you're going to compare the economic, political, and social life of America today to the 1920s. Super straightforward, simple introductory slide. In your first body slide worth 20 points, you're going to explain how the economy in the 1920s is similar and different to the economy today. Please have at least 3 sentences slash bullet points. So make sure that one bullet point talks about how they're the same, and another one of the bullet points talks about how they're different. And then you can have some flexibility on that other bullet point. But make sure that you're talking about the similarities and the differences between the two economies. Body slide number two worth 20 points. This slide should explain how the politics in the 1920s are similar and different to the politics today. Please have at least 3 sentences and bullet points. So again, make sure that at least one of the bullet points is about how they're similar, and one of the bullet points should be at least about how they are different. Continuing here, body slide number three worth 20 points. This slide should explain how the social life in America is similar and different to the social life today. Have at least 3 sentences and bullet points. So again, at least one bullet point needs to be about how the social life is similar, and one bullet point needs to be about how they are different. You'll have a concluding slide worth 5 points where you sum up your slideshow and restate your three main points. So it's kind of like your introductory slide, but instead of introducing the topic, you're reminding everybody about what you talked about. So something like, in this slideshow, you learned about how the economic, social life, and political lives are comparable to today. Something like that. Citation slide is worth 10 points. I do want you to do a little bit of extra research for this. So go do a Google search and see what new stuff you can learn and include the links to that information on a slide. And then overall appearance worth 10 points. I don't want you to just give me a white page with black words and that's it. I want you to pick a fun slideshow theme, throw at least 4 pictures in there that are spread out throughout the slideshow presentation, and have fun with it. You can use Google Slides, you can use Canva, whatever works best for you. Just turn in a good looking project and double check your spelling and grammar. Here's option two. If option number one doesn't sound great to you, how about this one? What were three major reforms that took place in the progressive era? What led up to them, and how do they impact us today? And reforms are like changes that came about. So like they've realized, oh, these things that are happening aren't great, so we need to do something to make it better for society. We're going to make some laws or some changes to do that. And you'll learn about a lot of those in these units. So, what were three major reforms that took place in the progressive era? What led up to them, and how do they impact us today? So, you're going to start with a title slide worth 5 points where you're going to put your name and a good title for your project. Then you're going to have your introductory slide worth 10 points where you're going to list three reforms that took place in the progressive era that you are going to discuss. So, something like three major reforms that took place in the progressive era were, and then boom, 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 list the three reforms that you are going to talk about. In body slide number one, worth 20 points, I want you to explain the first reform that you picked. So you need to have 3 sentences or bullet points, and these are what your bullet points will be. So you're going to explain the reform. So what happened? Then you're going to discuss what led up to it. So what made it happen? Like what were the events in place that made it that reform have to happen? And then the third one is how does it impact us today? How is your life different today because of that reform? Body slide number 2 is the same thing. It's worth 20 points, but you're going to talk about the second reform that happened. So follow the same format there. And then same thing with body slide number 3, worth 20 points. Explain the third reform you picked. Make sure to discuss what led up to it and how it impacts you today. Please have at least 3 sentences and bullet points. For your concluding slide worth 5 points, it's very similar to the concluding slide in the other option. You're going to sum up your slideshow. Remind the reader of the 3 reforms you discussed. Then you'll have a discussion slide worth 10 points. This project requires you to do some outside research. So do, just like with the other option, do a Google search and see what else you can learn about these reforms, and then give me the links to your sources on a slide. Then overall appearance is worth 10 points. Just like the other option, let's have fun with this. Put some fun color on there, some fun pictures, and make it very professional and nice. And I know you guys are super duper capable of doing that. If you do have any questions at all, please reach out to me. Let me know. I'd love to help you. There's some examples that you can look at on the project instructions that should give you kind of an idea of what these should look like. So hopefully those are helpful too. But if you do need anything, please reach out to me. And guys, thank you so much for watching this video.